Okay, so before we get into anything, major spoilers for TADC and for the last act, because I don't want to spoil anybody. But we're just gonna get right into it because I have a lot to say and none of it's good. None of it's good. None of it's good. But before we start that, okay, can someone please tell me why he's ore farming in this scene? He literally is just standing there. I don't understand why he's just standing there. Is he in shock? Why is he just standing there? There's some. So I have a lot to say, just about the whole of the last act. I did not like the last act. Like, I think there was only one scene where I genuinely felt something, and it it was like I thought there was going to be more happening, and I'll get to it in a little bit when it happens, or when I get around to it. But this scene particularly pissed me off at the beginning. This should have been my sign. I got when I was watching the episode, I watched it last night with my best friend, and I got Popeyes, and the Popeyes came with the wrong stuff, and that should have been a sign. That should have been a sign that everything was about to go wrong. But basically, when we started the episode, this scene in particular pissed me off. Like this starting scene where Jax, basically is upset that Kinger accidentally deleted Kane, and basically says that he messed everything up and everybody's just forgiving him. And obviously, it's a projection. It's so clear that it's a projection, but it pissed me off anyway because, because of the rest of the episode. Because this would have been nice to hear if he had any self awareness of any sort, but he doesn't, and that's kind of the problem. He doesn't really have any self awareness. Like he has self awareness about the fact that he sucks, but like he doesn't. It's so confusing to me that he just has the self-awareness to realize that he sucks, but he does nothing to change it, especially after everything that we go over in this episode. So I'm just gonna get into it. Of course, everybody's biggest problem is that this feels like the Jack show. By the end of episode 9, it pretty much feels like this is all about Jax. Like this entire episode is about Jax. Jax abstracts, and then we learn about Jax's backstory, which we already knew. We already knew that Ribbit was a big part of Jax's backstory, and we just get like some parts of that filled in, but pretty much we already knew all of that. So it's just showing us something we were already told after we were told it. It doesn't really change how I feel. And yeah, some people have been really like latching on to the fact that Jax was revealed to be trans, but that doesn't really change anything for me particularly. Like, yeah, woohoo, Jax is trans, and Ribbit was able to like Ribbit was one of the only people to really help Jax come out of her shell. But like the problem isn't that Jax is trans and like she has to express that. The problem is that she it's the way that she acts afterwards, because she immediately feels like she's going to be outed and then makes it Ribbit's problem, pushes Ribbit away when Ribbit says absolutely nothing about it. Ribbit doesn't even have a motive to like say anything and never says anything about it, but Jax just keeps pushing her away, and there's really no reason to do so. Like, I get it, you have mommy issues that relate to why you're pushing Ribbit away, but at the end of the day, Ribbit abstracted for basically nothing. And then Kaufmo did the same thing. Kaufmo did the same thing, and I'm getting the impression that I'm supposed to feel bad, even though I know that the creator's smart enough to know that we don't feel bad for this character. Has even said that Jax is an unlikable character, but we're still supposed to feel something about this, and I don't feel anything. And I know a lot of people are upset about the fact that Jax abstracts off screen, but I really don't care. I cared about it a little bit, but like, everybody has their different opinions about how abstraction should be shown, because some people think that it has to do with just like offing yourself basically. But the reaction that that Gangle had, I didn't feel anything about it because, yeah, we know that you're having complex emotions. We don't need a character to walk into the room while this character is having complex emotions and be like, are you having complex emotions about it? Like, I don't need to hear that. Cause, and it's essentially a nothing burger because right after this, they like look lovingly into each other's eyes. I'm sorry. This is slightly about me being mad that there's absolutely nothing progressed here. And yeah, there's the credit scene, but that doesn't really count to me. It's like an illustration. It really doesn't matter to the main plot for me if it's not happening in the sequence and I'm not seeing it. It's just another off-screen thing where I'm like, oh yay, they gave us some fan service basically of something we wanted. Instead of just giving us a scene where they go through that, where they talk or something, or they have a very heartfelt moment that isn't just being like, are you having complex emotions and it's okay. Even because we've had this conversation before. We've had this conversation before. We don't need to have it again. It's a nothing burger. They just walk out of the room and go back to focusing on Jax and trying to fix that problem. And it just doesn't really do anything for me. We're all just sitting around being sad about the fact that Jax is gone and finally getting Jax into a space where Jax can feel safe and just wondering what we're going to do now, but it's all about Jax. It's not about these other characters. Yes, we know that Ragatha has issues with her mom, but like we could have gone more into depth about that. It's very clear from the table scene that Ragatha has siblings. We could have gone to that, how her siblings were reacting to this. Is she the only one that was being affected by her mom? We don't know any of that. And then there's Gangle, which we know that Gangle is in a accident, supposedly by a truck or a car or something, but we don't really go into depth about that. We don't go into depth about any of their families really, except for Jax's. Jax's is the only person we really know the family of. And, you know, Kinger's, but we don't really know anything about Kinger's besides he has two daughters and that's pretty much it. And he has his wife and that's it. Like I feel like the most substance for families we have is between Jax and Kinger. But we don't know anything about Zubul. We don't know anything other than of course Zubul's gender identity being a huge crux of their identity. It's like, what struggles did they go through? What did their family think about it? Did they have friends? Did any of these people have friends who like were affecting how they were looking at the world? Anything like that? Because it seems like they have their memories, so would they have been worried about someone missing them or anything other than Jax? Because Jax is the only one who's just like, Jax is the really only one we focus on in depth of like who they were as a person before we get to the scene at the end where it goes over what they're doing now. I was a little upset about the whole Kinger plot, not the Kinger plot, but the Kane plot too, of Kane just coming back all of a sudden. But I'm not really going to get into that because the biggest thing I want to talk about is the topic of racism in this community and the topic of misogyny. Let's be clear. We all know that this is a bad depiction of the way that other characters see Jax and the way that Jax sees other people. That's very clear, but it's someone pointed it out, and I just want to get into it. The way that Jax sees Gangle is very weird. Even Pomni thinks it's weird. It's really weird, and the way that Jax essentially sees Gangle as like just I don't even know how to explain it, but like objectifying Gangle in a way where she's just a plaything for Jax. And we already know this, but okay, and I'm biased because I resonate with Gangle a lot. But it's just the way that Jax treats women and AFAB people in general in the show is just entirely bad. And making Jax trans does not change the fact that Jax is just a completely terrible person to a lot of the women and AFAB people in this show, like Gangle, Zubul, um, Ribbit. It's really bad, and we don't really go into depth about why it's bad or have any accountability from Jax's side. The last thing I'm gonna say is, um, I'm gonna just not beat around the bush with this. People who are saying, "Oh, um, Gooseworks didn't deserve the hate that they were getting. The cast didn't deserve what they were dealing with, and they deserved better." Um, I I hope you know that all of the black people that were affected by everything that happened in the last few months, right up until the last act, was completely on Gooseworks and the cast. And it's not even really about the fact that people dug up stuff. And it is. It is about the fact that people dug up things. Because the problem is, y'all dig up whatever you can find, use racism as a tool to call people out, and then leave black people to pick up the mess. Because when black people very understandably got upset, y'all got mad at them and then spoke over us. And the only people that I think deserve better are black people. It's very clear to me that Glitch, Gooseworks, and the cast do not prioritize black voices at all. Um, Based on the fact that there are very barely any black people in this series, and there's just not enough black voices in this series or in Glitch in general. And I don't care what anybody says. That's how I feel. That's how I'm going to stay feeling. And I don't really think I'm going to engage with a lot of content from these people anymore, because it's very clear to me that they don't prioritize like diversity past sexuality or identity. It stays at that, and that's all it is. Like, people of color do not matter to y'all, and I really need you to start just admitting it, because it's very clear to me that you just don't care. Because the people who were most affected by what happened in this community were black people, but y'all aren't ready to acknowledge that. And when you want to start acknowledging that, and start acknowledging that people like cosplayers were deeply affected by this, get terribly racist comments all the time, and that your actions, even if it was 7 years ago, do in fact have an effect on people now, I don't I don't really want to engage with you. I don't care. I know that Gooseworks made a post about that and how black people shouldn't be treated this way and blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, I really can't respect people when they make jokes like that, and don't seem like they've taken any type of action or accountability other than saying, "Oh yeah, I've changed as a person just because it's been 7 years." Like, that doesn't tell me you've changed, and I really don't see it in your work that you've changed. And that's all I have to say about that.